good things. You have to make, I think, to stick at fishing, you have to go out expecting nothing, right? And then you won't be disappointed. You have to make every little thing a big reward. Oh, it's not raining as much as it was, or oh, so, the weather's not as bad or something. But it's great. It's a great life, but you have to like it. If you're just there for a few shillings, a few pounds, like for money, you won't last, And I think it sounds ridiculous, but you gotta like watching the rope go through a pulley or something like that. You have to like when I was a little kid, when they used to have timber fish boxes, I used to be up there when my father was drying out the boat, trying to make the fish boxes float with me in them. I was trying to be hammering bits of barrels to them and things. I think you got to be into it like that, I always say that these are our toys, like, but you have to look at it like that, I think, So this is me toy we're in now. But even, what I find is even sometimes on a bad day, it can be kind of exhilarating a little bit. You just, when things are getting thrown around, and people are always surprised when I tell them I get seasick from time to time. Yeah, I do, but never when the weather's coming on. It's always like if I go out and it's been bad for a few days and you get that swell thing going on, and I go the colour of, a real green colour I go, and I'd actually nearly be on my hands and knees, and I'd always stick it out. And it's a bit like what I said earlier about making everything a big reward. It's like, great, I didn't actually, bring myself home. I managed to get through the day and all the rest of it. But those days are hard enough and I feel sick. But if I don't feel sick, yeah, it's great. And like, I remember being out there, one day stands out a couple of years back, and it was quite a snotty day now. It was like, it wasn't nice, but the sun was shining. But the weather conditions, the sea state wasn't great. But I was picking up some nice fishing, and I could see some of the other boats around on the horizon and stuff. And, I get this moment sometimes. I think, Martin, you're the happiest man in Ireland. You have the best job in the world. That's how it sounds silly to say it, but that's what I get off it sometimes. That kind of a buzz, even though the weather conditions weren't great, but the head was right. So like so there are lots of good things about it. The strangest thing I've ever caught, well, leatherback turtle, really. Had a couple of those in my time. Just caught up in the rope, belonging to the pots, like. And the last fella I got, they're big creatures, like, they're huge big things. But I was trying to free him, and it was a fine day. But even on a fine day, there's a bit of motion, and I had to reach over the side and keep trying to turn him around to get him clear of the rope, and his head would be banging off the boat. And then I say, no, it's for your own good, and then he'd want to turn the other way, and every time he turned the other way, he's got these big fins and big flippers, and he kept throwing water all over me. I'm saying, no, I'd be talking to him, like, don't do that, no, stop. But we got him. I got him clear in the end, and off he toddled. So it was like grand.
As a child, we lived in Cork City, and my dad used to fish out of Crosshaven, so we never got to spend much time with him. So my parents moved to Crosshaven, and we then in turn, during weekends or summer holidays, we got to go fishing with Dad, and it was the best way to spend time with him. Yeah, as a kid, it was a real treat to sit on the bow of the boat, on my dad's first boat, the Stay True, and used to sit right at the very front of the boat on the bow, and we used to dangle our legs on the front, and then on the very rare occasion we were treated to dolphins, and the dolphins just swim and crisscross in front, and they used to ride the waves in the front of the boat. It was just incredible. Like, I mean, we were so lucky because not everyone gets to see that every day, and not everyone gets to see it. Some people don't ever get to see that, but we were lucky. We did, and it was just magical. It was like watching it on TV, but you were there in person watching all this going on.
I was 12 years old when I first started fishing. Was pulled into by the photos around the house with my granddad. He was fishing. I was kind of brought an appeal to it. Came on the pier one day and got dragged into doing jobs, and that was it. Then I started from there. I'd only saved up for my confirmation and that, and through fishing with one of the lads for a summer, I gained enough money, and after summer first year I bought my first punt off a local lad, and then I sold that then a couple of months later, and I kind of progressed my way up through the ranks to the one I have now. The one I have now is called the Thomas D. I bought that down in Rosslare January 12 months ago.
I went to Greencastle in '98 and done my deckhand course in the BIM Fishery School. I was the only girl on the course. I think there was 14 guys, and I came second place. As it's a very male-dominated industry, you're very much isolated, I suppose, in what you're doing. You do have to prove yourself to be so much better than the lads, which is easy. No, you do have to prove yourself, and you've to work that bit harder just to show that you're as good as the rest of them on the boat.
Yeah, it's a job that I love. I love working outside, so either here now or on a farm I'll be your own boss as well. And you're out in the outdoors, not stuck inside in an office looking at the same four walls every day. One of my first trips out to sea, we were shooting pots one February, and there was the time the humpback whale was off the hook. Shooting away the pots, and I heard a whoosh. I looked behind me and he was breaking the water, and went on for about an hour. He was just jumping out of the water and blowing the whole time around the boat. It was kind of frightening at first. I thought he was going to come up and flatten us or something, but he kept his distance.
Mainly lobster, shrimp, velvet crabs. Do a bit of mullet fishing down in a different boat. Mullet fishing and stuff like that. Mackerel, the mackerel jigging. They're the main things. Here, you've kind of pots from. You've lobster pots kind of from the middle of March, kind of up to Christmas maybe, and then you've shrimp pots from September until March. So you're kind of kept going all year round really with pots. And summertime then you can do a bit of mullet fishing there, a bit of mackerel fishing. I do have a young fella. Yeah, he's going on 14 there now. He's interested enough in the fishing, but he'll go out if I ask him to go with me. Like, put it that way, but. He'd ask about 10,000 questions then for the day, but he's grand. I'd like him to learn it anyway, learn about the job, so it to be something to have, if he has to do it. As a person said, you can make money over it, if you just once you know what you're doing. That's about the size of it. I suppose just the buzz of catching stuff really, that's the highlight of it, and I suppose being there's kind of freedom attached to it, You're your own boss when you're out there, and you don't have to be putting up with traffic and stuff like that. It's just, you're out in the open, put it that way. I suppose you'd see funny things in, old dog fishing, big old, funny things in pots, but we often got golf balls inside in pots. Mind you, it was funny enough looking, but people don't believe us, but we do get golf balls in pots. After bad weather.
About 8 years ago, one November, I was bringing in the last of the lobster pots for the season, and when I left the harbour, very fine conditions. Forecast was bad, but not until the afternoon, and this was about 8 o'clock in the morning. I needed about 3 hours round trip to get the last 3 lines of pots in, and I would only carry 3 trains as we call it, 3 trains or 3 lots of gear. I'd only carry the 3 lots if it was really fine, as it was then. When I get all the gear into the boat, suddenly the southerly gale that was predicted for the afternoon now came on at about 9:30 in the morning. Came from 0 up to force 8 in about a quarter of an hour, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour. And I'm now in an overloaded small boat in a southerly gale. So probably the worst day of my life ever. But tried to keep heading into the weather as long as I could. The windows were just green with the sea. Every third or fourth wave just made everything green. It's like you're looking through the sea, literally. So in the end, it got too bad for that. I had to go ahead of the weather then. Then I got locked in the wheelhouse because I tried to stop the rain coming in on top of all the equipment because there was big, huge drops of rain. Slid across the door. The door locked accidentally outside. So when I went to try and get out of the wheelhouse, I couldn't. So I'm in a southerly gale, blowing me home, big seas, overloaded boat, locked in the wheelhouse, which is about, little over a metre square, in a gale of southerly wind. And I really thought it was the end for me, really, but I'm not a praying man as such, but I I had a word with the big fella in the sky, and I spoke to him as I'm telling it now, and I said, well, I said, if you want to take me, now's your chance, because there's nothing I can do about it. Locked in this wheelhouse, what can I do, you know? So I'm still here, so he must want me for something else at another time. So, right, it's high drama, the worst day of my life, the closest I've ever had losing myself at sea, and all the time I'm hoping that my wife won't ring up, because I'd have to tell her lies about, you know. And anyway, she does ring up, but later in the proceedings, when I felt everything was kind of under control, but I still have to keep the hand on the wheel and not let go of everything, keep everything going and hoping for the best still. Next thing the phone rings and, are you out in this? Yes, but it's okay. I'm trying to steer the boat and look behind. It's okay, don't worry, I'm nearly home, only 1.5 miles to go. Oh, that's good that you're coming in out of it. It looks very bad from the house here. Oh yes, it is. Don't forget to pick up that package from the post office, she says. Okay dear, okay, no problem.
I'm not fishing because I have children. You know, you have to be a mom, you have to stay at home. Shane has to do the hard graft, but I support him in what he does. I miss him when he does go fishing. It's hard when they are at sea and you're at home wondering, waiting. You just don't know how things are until they come back in or they have phone signal. So there's always that little bit of questioning in the back of your mind and fear, I suppose. But when you're out there, you don't fear because you know everyone at home is safe. So it's just, you get on with your job, you do what you have to do, and you don't dwell on what could happen or what might happen. You just do it to the best of your ability and safely.
On the 15th of April, we were shifting gear on the fishing boat, Levica. We were heading down the ground to move the gear on the safe ground because the tides were getting hard. We had 3 strings of pots aboard. And we just shot away the first string of gear, and the boat took a sudden jerk. And I said to the boys, what was that? And when I looked out onto the stern, the whole stern just went underneath the water. Never seen anything like it. The boys took a run. I swung around to put my hand on the VHF, and next minute the boat was gone. She was turned over. I was in the wheelhouse, and with the pressure of water going into the wheelhouse, I got washed up onto the dashboard of the boat. So, as panicking as I was, I held my breath for so long, I couldn't hold it no more, and I thought it was just about gone. And next minute the boat jerked, and she put her bow up into the air when she was upside down. And there was about 1 foot of air left in her. And I took 2 mad gasps of air. I went straight out, through the wheelhouse door, out around the mast, and came up along the side of her. I was in the boat for about 3 minutes or so. The boys were on, one boy was sitting up on the bow of her, and the other boy was sitting on the hull of it, up at the side of the hull of the boat. And as I was climbing the hull of the boat went down from underneath us. And when the boat goes down, you have to be in the situation when the boat goes down, everyone gets a fright. She's gone. It was a beautiful day. That was one thing that was on our side. It was a beautiful day. When the boat went down, one man went to one side of the boat and 2 of us went to the other side of the boat. And one lad said to me, where's the life raft? And the minute he said that, the life raft popped up about 5 foot away from us. So we got into the life raft, and I got into the life raft first and got the other chap into the life raft. And next minute, I shouted over to the other man, start swimming towards us. And he said he was too cold. So we done the doggy paddle in the life raft, and we got the life raft over to him and got him into the life raft, and he was really starting to suffer from hypothermia, really bad. So I said to the boys, look at lads, we're sitting on top of the canopy of the life raft. That's no good. Even though there's no wind, get into it. So when we got into the life raft, The life raft was about 2.5 foot of water, you know. When you're panicking, you're panicking. You don't root through bags or anything like that. I said, I said, right boys, I'm going to take my welly off. I'm going to start bailing her out. And I had the E-perp in the boat with me. That's the safety beacon, satellite safety beacon. That lets off the signal. The minute it comes to the top of the water, it automatically goes to a satellite and straight down to the rescue helicopter. We got that into her. We had that in the life raft. I started to bail the life raft out. And as I was bailing, I said to the boys, I think I hear a helicopter. The two boys now said, I hear nothing, I hear nothing. I said, I'm telling you, I hear a helicopter. And I looked in over the bed oven and I couldn't see nothing. So I kept bailing, kept bailing, kept bailing. Now we had all the water out of the boat. I said, I'm sure I hear a helicopter, boys. So then it was time then to kick in, right lads, get yourselves together, start rubbing yourself down and start trying to get a bit of heat into yourself, cuddle up to each other. We're bone dry now. We sit and wait. We have the safety beacon with us. Won't take long. The other chap had the BIM life jacket on him. And I made sure, I said to him, are you sure that went off? He says, I don't know, my hands are too cold. I made sure it went off. The two white lights came on too. And I said, boys, I'm dead sure I heard the helicopter. And when I looked out the third time, here was the helicopter coming straight for us. He hovered around us for a couple of minutes. The next minute he came down, the winchman came down and got aboard the life raft. He took the first chap off it who was suffering really bad from hypothermia. He was kicking, it was kicked in very bad on him. I said, get him over first. So he went up first. We got the second lad up and I was the last one in it with the winchman. And as the helicopter went around to come around again to pick us up, the winchman shook me hand. He said, good man, he says, you saved your crew, you had all the safety equipment in her, you had all the life jackets in her, everything worked. He said, but the main thing that happened, that saved your life was the E-perp, the safety beacon. That saved your lives. He says, and only for that, he says, the minute that came to the top of the water, he says, the signal went off, he says, and we had a position on you, and said, and the helicopter was up and going. So he shook my hand, up he went up into the helicopter, suffering very bad from hypothermia then. He said, as we were going up, he said that the helicopter man would have punctured the life raft, and the man came back to him, he said, no, the Wicklow lifeboat is on its way. And as I was going up about 100 feet in the air, I looked in over Wicklow, and the Wicklow lifeboat was about 5 minutes away from us. So between the lifeboat and the helicopter, definitely one of them would have got us within 20 minutes. That's how long it was, about 20 minutes all in. Now we did suffer very bad from hypothermia, into the helicopter, put us out, took everything off us, put blankets around us, and straight to Tala Hospital. Brought us into Tala Hospital, put the heat blankets on us, and I say within a half an hour, everyone was up and going. We were up walking up and down the ward with our capes on us and having a laugh about it. As I said to the boys, it's only a fishing boat. I don't care about the fishing boat. It says, if you a different story, one of you were missing. None of you are missing. We're all safe. We had the safety gear. That was the main thing. And he says, there's no problem. I said, we'll go again, we'll buy another fishing boat, and we're not going to sea until she's right. And that was that. I bought the new boat about 3 weeks after the last one went down. Sort of like panicked a small bit, but see, with fishing, being fishing, you want to get back to sea again. I went back to sea 2 days later with my brother on his own fishing boat to move the rest of my gear. I had to go back because if you don't go back, it'll always be on your mind. So I went back and we shifted the rest of the gear. And then I went and bought the boat behind it. The Blue Diver, I bought her in Kinsale. off a man called Morris Fitzgerald. He's retired, and I bought it off Morris. So, with a bit of luck, the three men who was on the boat, the three of us was on the boat, we will be going back fishing as soon as possible. There's an awful lot of work to be done on the boat. I'm not going to sea until the boat's right. Once you get a fright, what happened to us? What way would you put it? What happened to us? I'll never go to sea without the safety gear. I hear people saying, these life jackets are no good, they're too heavy and they're too this and they're too that. Only for the life jackets we had on us, I wouldn't be standing here today.